my name is Emily Moore. I live in California in the United States. You can find my work online at phet.colorado.edu. I work in the Department of Physics at the University of Colorado Boulder within the PhET Interactive Simulations project. I'm part of multiple research and development communities, including educational technology, science education, accessible technologies, and open source ecosystems. I'm very interested in discussions related to these questions. 1. What educational theories, design frameworks, and collaborative processes are needed to create more inclusive interactive learning tools? And 2. What unique challenges and opportunities exist at the intersections of modalities? I'm currently part of a new development project called Paper Playground, which is a multimodal tool for in-person, virtual, and hybrid co-design. I'm also interested in efforts related to the scalability of tangible learning tools. I'm sharing here a few additional images in case they are helpful for discussions. These include a diagram on a proposed spectrum of interactivity with static images on the far left, VR, AR, XR on the far right, and interactive simulations in the middle, and screenshots of 2 PhET simulations we've created that express many modal forms, quadrilateral and ratio and proportion. Thank you for listening. I look forward to meeting you in Boulder.
Hi, my name is Brett Fiedler. I live nearby Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States. Most of my work you can find somewhere off of the website PhET, which is PhET.colorado.edu. I've also included a link to a repository, GitHub repository, for some of the work that we'll be showing off and discussing at the convening. And that is github.com/paper-land. I work with the PhET Interactive Simulations project at the University of Colorado at Boulder, remotely. The networks that I belong to probably encompass more than this, but at the very least, inclusive design, educational technology, STEM education, and specifically physics education research that I have a background in, as well as open source ecosystems. Be happy to have any discussions about any questions I have here. The first being, how can we use existing and emerging technology to improve the scalability of inclusively designed educational experiences? As well as the somewhat related, what factors promote a meaningful, collaborative technology co-design in an increasingly independent and remote world? One of the projects that I'll be bringing that is related to both of these is the Paper Playground, along with some other folks at PhET. And this is an interactive digital interaction design tool that we're hoping will support both virtual and physical collaborative design, co-design in particular, of multimodal web interactives, including things like PhET simulations. The tool itself intends to support a communal space for designers and developers and co-designers outside of that to design web interactives utilizing multimodal input and output, and that we mean auditory, sound and sonification output, speech output, and possibly at some point speech input, as well as visuals and visual output, visual input as well in the ways of computer vision and the like, which also goes towards gestural capture and the like. So in the sidebar there, I have a couple extra figures. The top one on the sidebar being the layout of the Paper Playground structure as it is right now. That I'd be happy to help use to discuss, as well as the current interface right below that, and what we hope to use as that kind of co-design interface itself, an intermediate. And then I've also included on the bottom an example of one of the simulations that we create and that we share in common with several folks here at the convening, and that being the quadrilateral simulation, which is in tandem with the quad physical tangible. The other project that I'm sort of interested in, not engaged in a great way, but we have sort of elements of it, is the idea of open source ecosystems for scalable multimodal learning. And so we have considered Paper Playground as an open source project, and there's ongoing work for the aspects of our PhET interactive simulation source code. But I think in addressing the issues of scalability for these kinds of multimodal learning experiences, there's a lot of work going on, and figuring out how to combine these and promote the use and aggregate a community around it is pretty key to any sort of scalable, meaningful efforts. So love to continue talking about that kind of thing. Thanks for listening. See you in Boulder.
Hi, my name is Taliesin Smith. I live in St. John's, located in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador on the far east coast of Canada. You can find my work on the PhET website, phet.colorado.edu. I work in the Department of Physics at the University of Colorado Boulder within the PhET Interactive Simulations project. I work with researchers, designers, and developers to design and research inclusive features for PhET's highly interactive simulations. I'm part of multiple communities: inclusive design, web standards, accessible technologies, human-computer interaction, and open source ecosystems. I'm very interested in discussions related to my two main questions: how to turn a design framework into a useful design tool, and how input method can affect learner attention or the construction of attentional anchors in interactive experiences. The second question is related to some challenges me and my wonderful developer colleagues have faced with designing and implementing web-based auditory description display. That is the voicing feature for PhET sims. Different things happen in an interactive experience if a learner points and clicks versus moving their focus by pressing the tab key. A click and drag is a different experience than taking discrete steps with the arrow keys on a keyboard. Because these events create a different experience, I provide different information through the auditory description display. I feel I have created an input-agnostic description experience, but unfortunately at great expense to implementation, as developers have to create code with special logic that watches for and responds to specific events. I'm wondering if there is a way to do it differently. Paper Playground is a new project we are exploring, and I am exploring how to design and co-design description for interactions. Alongside Paper Playground, I am wrapping up work on our customizable web-based auditory description display. It is so nice to hear description alongside other modalities in completely new experiences, such as with sensory extension devices in ratio and proportion, and with the tangible in quadrilateral. I am very interested in exploring how the description design framework can be used in co-design activities to build confidence in description design. We need more description designers. I'm sharing here a few additional images. These include the model diagram of the description design framework I use for description design, and 3 PhET simulations, all of which are very multimodal: quadrilateral, friction, and gravity force lab basics. In each screenshot, something important is voicing as it happens in the sim. In quadrilateral, opposite sides in parallel. As those shape properties become true. In friction, very hot, atoms break away from chemistry book as that benchmark is met during rubbing. And in the last screenshot, the Preferences menu is open, voicing is enabled, and a learner has just checked a sim voicing option checkbox. The menu voices. Voicing surrounding context changes. As you can see, description, design, and described experiences are a big focus for me. Thank you for listening. I look forward to meeting you in Boulder.
Hi, my name is Jesse Greenberg. I live in New York City in the United States. I work for PhET Interactive Simulations as a software developer. You can learn more about our work online at phet.colorado.edu. My networks include software development, game development, and digital accessibility. I have an interest right now in learning how to make multimodal user experience, design, and development faster, more scalable, and accessible. One of the projects that we're working on in this space right now is called Paper Playground, and I'm very excited about it because I think it's going to support rapid prototyping, collaborative design, and maybe even embodied learning. It might also support teaching people how to create and design for multimodal content. I also have a personal interest in artificial intelligence, and I'm excited to see how that technology is going to change the landscape of digital accessibility and content creation. On the right side of my poster, I added some images to assist in discussion of the Paper Playground tool. Thank you all for listening, and I'm looking forward to meeting you all in Boulder.